Welcome to Benevolence, where kindness matters and all are welcome to the table. I'm your host, Sassy Diaz. As always, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for supporting Benevolence Podcast. I pray that as you tune in every week, you are empowered, blessed, and encouraged to be the best version of yourself. You are tuning into episode 3. You have a purpose. And on this episode of Benevolence, I have a very special guest who is very dear to my heart. She is the sweetest, kindest, and humblest girl that I know. She has a true heart after God, and she has a passion for women and is a servant to the kingdom. I've known her for quite a few years, and she has truly exemplified grace and humility. She comes from an amazing family, and I'm so excited to have her join me at the table today. So without further ado, I have the one and only Edmarie Rivera, a.k.a. Mari, joining me at the table today. Hey, girl.
Hey. That was going to make me cry.
Mari, thank you so much for joining me on an episode of Benevolence.
Yes, thank you.
So you were basically one of the first guests that I reached out to for season 5.
Oh God, thank you.
And I just wanted you to come and share your story and testify what God has done in your life and whatever God has placed in your heart. Just wanted you to share it. So before we begin, and before you begin to tell us your story, go ahead and tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Yes, okay. So like she said, my name is Edmarie Rivera, but everyone calls me Mari. And so I'm currently a student in Southeastern University. My major is speech pathology. I'm in my 3rd year. I'll be graduating in May, so I'm super excited about that next May. And I'm super humbled and excited for this happening, so thank you, Sassy.
Of course.
So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Well, without further ado, go ahead. Yeah. I know you have something in your heart that you would like to share, and I know that whoever's listening is going to be blessed.
Amen.
So go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so the reason why I'm sharing this story is because you can do anything you put your mind and God into. So that's what came into my mind when I was writing this. And I want to also share this story because I want to be like a merchant ship. And a merchant ship is these ships that go to different areas in the world, and they bring either food, like necessities that these different parts of the world need. Yeah. So the reason why I want to be like a merchant ship is because I want to bring life into others. So I'm so glad that I'm sharing this because literally I prayed that I to be a ship like this, it's crazy. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So this story begins when I was in 2nd grade, which is, crazy. I was really young. My parents found out that I had a speech problem and a learning disability. We found out that I had to stay back. I was super devastated. And you might think that, the 2nd grade, no big deal. I didn't think twice on it. Parents probably lied, oh, no, you're okay. No, but I actually felt it, thought it, everything. Yeah. Every emotion was there. So I had to switch from classroom to classroom to practice my speech, my reading, my math. I had to go to different classrooms. My whole life I felt embarrassed because of the image I put for myself, which was I'm literally stupid or, I'm just something, not a normal kid, you can say. As time went on, I started to see the favor of God upon my life. I learned something through these years that your past or your background will not stop God from favoring you. The only thing that can be an hindrance is your obedience. So I look at Esther, for instance. Her background did not stop her from being obedient to God, and God favored her. Like, she got to marry the king, like crazy, So when I got to 5th grade, my mom did not want me to go into public school. She wanted me to have the one-on-one, private school, little class, kind of deal. And so my mom was praying for this, and literally God showed his favor and gave me free scholarship to go to the best private school in Deerfield Beach. Wow. That's when I lived in Broward. But I was so mad. I didn't see God at all because, every cool person goes to a public school. All of my friends, my cousins went to the same public school, and I was the odd one out to go to a private school. So I was going through this new environment school. I found myself trapped because I couldn't understand anything the teacher was saying, doing. I would go home and hate myself because I felt like I was really dumb.
And why couldn't you understand?
Because of the level that private school was in.
Oh, because it was like
top.
High. Yeah.
It was top, and like I even had to take a test to get into it.
Oh.
And I didn't even pass it, but because of God's favor, I went in like crazy. And so everything
was just like up there.
Up like I remember my science teacher, his name was Mr. McCarthy. Oh my gosh, we had like vocabulary tests, big words, and I was like, I can't even read right. Like it was crazy. And then but yeah, it was super crazy. And then so then I would go home, hate myself, felt like I was dumb. I would have to stay after school every day just to understand one math problem. Wow. So it was like I couldn't be like a normal kid, My parents pushed me to try harder, but there was always times I would try to, get the easier way out, just because, I thought I couldn't do it. And as time went on, I got older and I realized how I need to start working harder than other kids. I'm not a typical kid. I had to work harder. I had to stay after school. I had to study harder. I had to do flashcards, all that, shabam stuff. Yeah. And then with my parents' help and God literally, that's how I got through it into private school, which is crazy. And the crazy thing is that I believe God healed me from the disability that I have. Like I used to have a stuttering problem. I used to mix my words.
And that's so hard to believe.
And I'm talking right now, so it's crazy. And I'm in college, so it's, I made it, Yeah. So I literally believe that God healed me from any disability I had. And so I say this because my senior year of high school, I was already thinking of what I was going to do in college, which was a special needs teacher. So I thought. Yeah. But one day, God just told me to talk to the special needs specialist that we had in my school, which was here in Orlando. And I started to ask her questions about college and what I wanted to do. And she said, "Wow, Edmarie, I feel the presence of God." And that's literally her words. I can remember the way she said it, everything. Yeah. And I said, "Why?" Like, I was like, no. Like, what did I do? Kind of deal. And then she said, "I don't know why I'm saying this, but when you moved to Orlando and came to this school, your old files came with you. And these files said that I had to be taken out of every classroom for help with speech, reading, and math. But I would see the work that you were doing, and I would ask your teachers and to see how you were doing. And they were surprised how I was even asking about you. And they're like, Edmarie? Like, that's crazy. Yeah. And I was still, in high school, I was still staying after school, still.
Like for tutoring.
Doing all of that. Oh my god. But I was still, like, I was still doing good, like God, God was there. So, and I just stared at her and I started to cry because I remember the way I felt, and felt, even feel when I was in high school because I still had trouble with math and all that stuff. But when she told me that, that gave me like, encouragement, to keep going. So that's when I really saw like, God healed me from, a disability that I had. It's crazy. It's so crazy. And to think like you only think that God would heal you from, sickness. Exactly. But God can heal you from anxiety.
Yeah, absolutely.
Crazy to think about it, So boom, I hit college. And then, so my major was ESE, which is a teacher for special needs. And never in my mind I thought I could think of anything else. I would go to my classes and realize how I was not excited to go and not excited to go into my field study, which is going to different schools and literally sitting down staring at what the teacher's doing. And I was just not. Like, I would pray and be like, Lord, please, Lord, give me the feeling to go, like wanting to go, But I would always just, brush it off because I just knew I couldn't do anything else. Like, I was like, no, this is what I can do, which was an easy way for me. I'm like, I can't do anything else. I still stay after school. In college, I still went to tutoring, everything. I'm like, I can't do anything harder or, even though teaching is hard, like that's a hard major, but I couldn't see myself doing something else. Yeah. But, which I thought again. So I would find myself telling my dad, I want another math class, because I was just so used to staying after school and getting challenged, but I didn't feel challenged enough anymore in these classes that I was doing for my major. So one day, it was in summer, already, the semester ended, ready for the next semester in education. So one day my sister called me saying, I don't know why I'm saying this, but I see you as a speech pathology.
Wow.
And I was like, oh no, don't say nothing. Like, I was like, stop it right now. And so, and the reason why she says this is because my niece goes to a speech pathologist. Okay. And so she speaks to the speech pathologist, and she literally said, I see you like this woman. I don't know why. So I'm like, oh, no. And I already knew in like my gut, like, she's right. And I was like, no, I can't. But right there, I was like, it clicked that I think it was time to switch. So God was taking me somewhere else that I did not want to go.
Oh my goodness.
And I feel like there's a lot of times that we feel that way. So I was stressed, depressed, because I was thinking on how speech pathology is kind of being in the medical field. And I never saw myself being able to put my foot into the medical field. So I prayed about it, and it just happened. Like if it was like you turn on a movie and it just happened.
Wow.
And so I changed my major to speech and language pathologist. Now I know different parts of your face, your throat, and even your tongue. We have parts of our tongues. There's
parts in there?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So
And so, never in years I would see myself where I am. God favored me through this process of changing majors because he put the right people through this journey. And so even in the job I am now, which I work in a school called Calvary City Church Academy, right? Christian Academy. It's long. It's like long. CCCCC. So I work there, and literally me being in my job, even God puts, because the president of SCU came to my school, which is in Orlando.
Wow.
And he's in Lakeland. Came all the way to Orlando, said something, met me, and remembered, crazy thing. God just literally put the people in my way just to be like, hey, like, I got this for you. You don't have to worry.
Wow.
And so, so I can't tell you how now to this day I still have A's and B's.
That's great.
I never once in college had a C, which is mind blowing. So I took my first science classes. I passed them with high A's.
Wow.
And that is literally not me. It's a favor of God and my obedience to him, So and of course, I had to study hard and get my priorities straight. And again, that comes with obedience, And so the reason why I tell you this today is because I believe us as women, God just wants greater. And there's a woman in the Bible named Deborah, and she was the only woman mentioned in the Bible who was called the judge. So imagine the things that she had to go through to get that title, She probably had to go through school, and men are always the highest. So imagine for her to be the only woman mentioned in the Bible. I can't imagine what she went through. Well, mentioned as a judge in the Bible. I can't imagine, what she went through. And so, to think that, it's crazy. So I say this because no matter what happened in the past, disability, sickness, whatever, remember that Jesus came to this earth to relate to your pain so that you could relate to his purpose.
Wow, that's good.
So you have a purpose. It doesn't matter what you did in high school or what you did yesterday. Like, God is still like, you still have a purpose, daughter, it's crazy. And so Deborah, going back to Deborah led these men from Israel into war, which these men had been dealing with these people for 20 years. Wow. And Deborah comes in saying, hey, God said this and that, and you're gonna win this war. And so them knowing that they're gonna win this war, a guy named Barak said, if you go with me, I will go, but if you don't go with me, I won't go. So a man asked a woman to go into war with him. So imagine where God can take you. If a man asked a woman, come with us, she obviously brought them comfort. So just imagine like where God can take you. It doesn't matter what you went through. Literally, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, see where God took me. I was a girl that got out of my class all the time for different necessities that I needed. And so, yeah, and then, so her presence gave them confidence that God was with them in the victory. Now that as a woman, I want to be, that's a woman I want to be, sorry.
Yeah.
I overcame all my insecurities in my past by just trusting and having faith in the purpose that God has for me. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Crazy.
And look at you now.
I know.
Sharing your
Amen.
Story.
This is God.
I'm sure no one knew about the things that you had faced when you were younger and the speech. It's just, it's mind blowing how God uses you, even in your imperfections, even in your struggle. He still makes a way. And I always hear this, but it's like obedience is better than sacrifice. You know what I mean? It's better to just obey and hear the voice of God and, know that He is the one that has everything under control.
Yeah, literally.
A lot of us, like, we're always waiting for, like, the prophet to come and just tell us. Everybody's waiting for the prophet. Oh, I just want a word. I just want the prophet to just give me a word.
Yeah, give me a sign.
But, to just give me a sign. But God is already moving, in each and every one of our lives. And it's important for us to see that move, you know what I mean? And not just simply focus on that prophet, And I personally deal with worry, and that was something that we had talked about, because I know that you had mentioned, like, throughout your life you worried, you worried about well, look at me, I need help in school, how am I going to be an ESC teacher, or at the time, or how am I going to be, and I'm sure you still, like, struggle every now and then, like, how the heck am I going to be a speech pathologist, like, how is this going to happen, but that worry is something that I deal with, and I wrote some stuff down too, and the Bible says in Matthew 6:34, it says, like, therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself, and each day has enough trouble of its own. And I personally live a life of what ifs. What if? And if y'all know about that whole enneagram stuff, I'm a 6. Like, the 6, you've heard of that, right? My number is so on point. It's bad, because we're the one that, like, we have, like, we think about bad things in order to prepare our minds for the disappointment of life. You know what I mean? So we're always thinking the worst, and that's just who I am. That's how it's always been. And it's crazy sometimes because I allow my mind to see the worst things, like I just said. And I also have a bad habit of setting myself up for disappointment, so that, like, if just to prevent hurt, like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, I set myself up, my mind, for disappointment, so that it wouldn't be a surprise if someone did hurt me. Isn't that crazy?
And, like, now that you say disappointment, like, that's how I felt even till now with school or anything. Like, I'm scared to disappoint myself, kind of deal.
I wanted you to I don't know if you're willing, but if you can just talk to us a little about that whole, like, perfection thing that you struggled with, like, with anxiety.
In school?
Yeah, in school.
No, so literally all the time, like, especially being in second grade, well, I remember just being like, everyone talking, oh, she needs to do this, she needs to do that. I would have tests, like, of pictures, and it would be pictures, and I would confuse, like, English and Spanish. Like, there was, like, a fireman, and I would be like, bombero. Yeah. And so, like, till that, or they'd be like, no, you have to say it in English. And so I'd be like, oh, they'd be like, fireman. I'd be like, oh, no, bombero. Like, it was weird. So, and so now, like, now that I went through all of that in middle school, high school, now in college, I feel like I have to be, like, not to kiss up to the professor, but, like, I have to be on my A game. Like, I have to email the professor every day. Like, I need to, like, make sure I get that extra credit done. Like, I need to have everything due before the due date. Like, and I give myself that pressure and that anxiety.
Yeah, you've placed it on yourself, girl. Horrible. But it's because of what you've what you've been through. It's a pressure
I'm
that
scared.
they put on you.
It's like scary because I'm like, I don't want to fail again. And you know what's crazy? Now that you said that, is that every time when I was in like high school and middle school, you know when you go to open house and they look for your name on the folder and they're like, oh, these are your classes.
Yeah.
I would get so freaked out because there was like a folder for 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade. So of course I would go to my bin folder thing, and I would be scared that my folder wouldn't be there.
Oh my
God. I would have to go back. Yeah, it's the craziest thing. Like that was in my head.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Like you were marked. You were marked from your experiences. So how were you able to overcome that?
College. So when I went to college, I just literally trusted God in the way I was, going into college and my classes. It was scary because even my parents would say, you got this, take it slow, take minimum classes, don't take too much credits, go to tutoring and all that stuff. So that in my head already, literally all I had to do was trust God. And because of college, I literally can say that I overcame everything. I still, of course, I'm not perfect. I still have my anxiety. I have to be perfect in everything I do. Like I said, write my professor, email my professor, make sure I'm doing everything right, reread everything. So I still go through that, and my mom can tell you that because I cry almost every week with school I have. Chris can tell you that because I always tell him like I can't do this, and especially in a new major because I changed my major last semester, which is in fall. I literally just changed it, and so to this day I still go with my anxiety and my perfectionist with school, especially with this new major that it's new. It's new, not something that I saw myself doing.
Exactly.
And so but the crazy thing is too is that this major is something that I needed when I was younger. Like whoever was helping me was a speech therapist, speech pathologist, everything. So like now I'm being, I'm gonna grow up and be the speech pathologist for someone that needs it.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
Which
You're
is
like
crazy.
Paying it forward.
Yeah. Like, Toma, here, I'm gonna help you too.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that's beautiful.
It's crazy.
Going back to like, the perfectionist. At least for me, like, I know I'm not perfect. And I'm very blunt when I say like I'm a hot mess. Yeah. I always tell everybody I'm a mess. Like a lot of people, they'll come to me for like, for mentorship or for just some advice or whatever, and I will give them everything that I know, everything to help them. But I always tell them, I'm always very transparent with them that I'm a mess as well. Through it too. Yeah. That everything I'm saying to you is coming right back to me. Yeah, that's crazy. And the greatest thing that we know, and you and I know, is that yes, our walk is gonna have its speed bumps. Yes, there's gonna be moments of worry. Yes, there's gonna be moments of anxiety. But God is with us the whole time, and we need to believe that the things that God tells us about himself, we need to believe the things that he tells us about ourselves.
That's good.
And we need to stand against the enemy and his lies because the worry is not of God. The Bible says don't worry what tomorrow will bring, because tomorrow has its own problems. And I'm just quoting, I'm not reading it directly, but it literally says like don't worry about tomorrow. And right now, like, we're going through, the entire world is going through a very, very hard time with this whole pandemic of the coronavirus. And I literally every day, every minute, every second, especially when I watch things on social media or TV, I have to remind myself not to worry. Yeah. Not to worry. Crazy. My purpose is not gonna end because of the coronavirus. No. This is just a stumbling block that we just have to go through to learn something, and once we learn, our purpose continues. That's so true. So if you worry, my sister, please know you're not alone, because I worry all the time, and are you ready to fight against worry and get your life back? I would just tell you to give your worries and cares to God. Remember this: if it's out of your hands, it deserves freedom from your mind too. Like, it's out of your hands. If it's something that you cannot control, it should be, it deserves freedom, like to be out of your mind. You have to complete surrender. That's awesome. That whole desire of wanting to be perfect, that desire of wanting, have more likes, more followers, whatever it is, whatever it is that you struggle with, give it to God, because he cares for you. Yeah. So
awesome.
Anything else, Mari?
No, literally, just remember that. I want to say this again, that Jesus came into this earth to relate to your pain so that you can relate to his purpose.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I love that. So
that's wonderful.
You have a purpose, girl.
Yes. Well, there you have it.
Yes.
Mari, thank you so much for joining me at the table today. Thank you for sharing your story of faith. You're such a blessing to others. You're such a blessing to me. And I'm so proud of you. And I'm just so excited to see what God has in store for you.
Same for you. Same for you.
And thank you all for tuning into Benevolence, where kindness matters and all are welcome to the table. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at Benevolence Podcast or at I am Sassy Diaz to know a little bit more about me and Benevolence. Benevolence Podcast is available on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeart, and the Stitcher app. And finally, if there's a topic that you would like for us to discuss in the future, please do not hesitate to email me at benevolencepodcast@gmail.com with requests, petitions, or comments. I want to hear from you. Stay tuned for our new Benevolent Wednesday feature where different women share their stories of what God has done in their life. And stay tuned for next Monday's episode of Benevolence. You don't want to miss it. Bye!